solemnly swear that the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can please be seated, state and spell your name for the record.
Joann Donner, Joann Donner.
Good morning. How are you employed?
With the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office as a detective.
How long have you been with the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office?
Just under 25 years.
And how long a detective?
8.
Through your work as a detective, have you investigated homicides before?
I have.
Okay. Were you working as a detective back in April of 2024, specifically around April 1st and 2nd of 2024?
I was.
Were you dispatched to the area of Waramont Park in Milwaukee County
I was.
on April 2nd?
That is correct.
In the evening time?
Approximately 6 p.m.
All right. And the nature of the call was for what?
for a severed human leg.
Can you tell us why the Cudahy Police Department contacted your department?
The Milwaukee County Parks are the jurisdiction of the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office.
I have up on the TV screen, if you can see that from where you're seated, exhibit number 1. Do you recognize what exhibit number 1 is showing?
I do. It's an overview of the Sheridan and Waramont Park lakefront area.
I would move exhibit number 1 into evidence.
Any objection?
No.
It's received.
And I'm going to show you now exhibit number 443, which is on the screen hopefully soon. All right, there we go. Can you see that?
I can.
And we're looking at another map, correct?
That is correct.
It's a map of Milwaukee County.
Correct.
I'd move 443 in. It's the PNG file on the disk. It's a disk.
Any objection?
No.
It's received.
All right, and as we're looking at 443 here on the northern end of it, it kind of cuts out all the way at the top here. We see Silver Spring Drive, correct?
Correct.
That's not the northernmost tip of the county though, right?
No, it is not.
Okay, and I'm gonna zoom. There we go. All right. Back, if we go all the way to the south side of the map, we've got County Line Road. It's essentially where Racine County starts, fair?
That is correct.
And then if I'm zooming back up, on the right side, we have Lake Michigan, correct?
Correct.
And zooming in all the way over here, this is the location of Waramont Park, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're sort of in the southeastern corner of the county as we're talking about what we're about to talk about, fair?
That's fair.
All right. Going back to exhibit number 1. I think this TV just takes a little longer. Sort of on the left side of the map here, what is this road?
South Lake Drive?
Okay, and we've got South Sheridan Drive that kind of runs through the park here, correct?
That's correct.
And the street, the southernmost street on this map is East Pulaski Avenue, correct?
That is correct.
East Pulaski Avenue comes and hits Sheridan Drive, and then this location, this road right here, what are we looking at? What is that?
That is the service drive to the pump house.
Okay. For the Cudahy Water Department.
That's correct.
The Cudahy Water Department is located where on here?
On the corner of Pulaski and South Lake Drive.
Right here?
That's correct.
All right. So this is the location of the Cudahy Water Department, but they also have this building that we've been talking about, the pump house, which is where my finger's pointing right now. Is that right?
That's right.
The lower right-hand corner of the map. Right above the Cudahy Water Department, we've got, it says Cudahy City Hall.
Correct. It also houses the police department.
So the police department and local government is in that building?
Correct.
The building north of that?
The high school.
All right. Where is, strike that, is there a gate when you get to the end of Pulaski Drive, heading east? Where is there a gate that takes you down to the pump house?
There is. It's right about where the M and the O are in Waramont.
All right, where I'm pointing here?
Yes.
This road that would go down to the pump house, that's the only way you could get a vehicle down there. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
Okay. And this stretch of shoreline right here Is this the stretch of shoreline that you were dispatched to that day, April 2nd, 2024?
Correct.
Was the human leg that was found there, where was it located, if you could approximate on this map?
Would you like me to show you?
If you could.
Approximately right here.
Okay, so let the record reflect the witness is pointing towards the shoreline, right about halfway up the page.
Any objection to that?
No.
Thank you.
Where would the entrance from Sheridan Park be?
It would not be shown here on this map. It's further north.
Okay. I'm changing it to Exhibit 443. So above, we see Waramont Park here, and above that, that would be Sheridan Park, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and so it'd be up this road from Sheridan Drive, fair?
That's fair.
Okay. When you first got down to the shores of Lake Michigan at Waramont Park on April 2nd, did you encounter Deputy Krieger?
I did.
All right, that's K-R-U-E-G-E-R for the record. Were you kind of briefed on what had happened prior to your arrival?
I was.
What was the, albeit limited, information that you were given at that time?
I was to inform that there were 2 citizens that found the severed leg on the beach area and called Cudahy Police Department. From there, Cudahy called us due to its jurisdiction. Our 2 deputies then confirmed that there was a leg, secured the scene, and called for CID, Criminal Investigation Division, to respond.
And you were the detective from CID who responded?
That's correct.
Were there other detectives who eventually responded?
There were.
But essentially, the scene investigation, you were going to take over that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. After being briefed by Deputy Krieger, what did you do?
I initially just kind of did a once-over of the overall area to get an idea of what it was that I was dealing with. The conditions were very poor. That lower area next to the pump house was under construction. They were going to be paving a certain area and laying grass, but at that time it was gravel and a lot of mud and muck. I changed into boots and was guided by Deputy Krieger down the beach. To get to that area, there is a very narrow tree line, and then it's a precarious, steep decline. It's short, but it's very steep, that you have to actually hang on to trees and roots or you'll lose your footing. From there, it was about 100 to 150 yards to the location of the leg. That terrain was rocky. The rocks varied in size from pebbles all the way up to probably the size of cantaloupes. It was not an easy navigation to get to.
When you walked that 100 and 150 yards, what did you see?
There I saw what appeared to be the right leg of a black female. Based on the condition, it appeared that it wasn't there for very long. I did not see any visible decomposition. The skin was very smooth, free of blemishes. I didn't see any noticeable scarring or any tattoos on it. The nail polish was a bright pink color, and it appeared that it might be from a younger woman.
What about its appearance did you take note of, if you want to elaborate on why you say that it appeared to be from a younger woman?
Just the condition of the skin. It had a very youthful appearance to it. It was not crepey. There was, like I said, there was no decomposition, so it was in very good condition.
What were you able to discern, if anything, about the size of this human?
At one point, we had to move the leg again due to the waves crashing up a little too close to it. Deputy Krieger picked it up upright with the foot to the ground and the thigh upwards, and I noticed that the leg appeared to be a little bit shorter than I was, and I'm 5'3". It also, size-wise, looked similar to my weight. At that time was 170 pounds.
Did you notice an obvious line where it had been dismembered from the body?
I did.
What did you observe about that?
When the leg was being moved, the fold of skin and flesh had moved away from the bone. You could see that it was severed below that top ball of the femur. It looked like it was a tool mark. It was very smooth all the way up to the end, and then it looks like it was snapped. It reminded me of a tree branch that you're sawing and you get so far and you're like, just gonna break it. It broke off, and it was like a piece, jagged piece at the end. I noticed that the skin had kind of a long zigzag pattern to it, which is usually indicative of cutting rather than pulling to be ripped apart. That's why I was able to determine that it probably was not from like an accident, a boating accident, or anything like that.
Did you bring a camera?
I did.
Did you take photos of the scene as well as of the leg?
I did.
I'm going to show you exhibits 2 through 9. And I'm going to bring them up on the TV screen with you. But first, why don't you page through 2 through 9 and tell me if you recognize those.
I do. These are the photos that I took.
Not all of them, correct?
No, I took more than this.
Okay. I moved 2 through 9 into evidence.
Any objection?
No.
They're received.
All right, Detective, I'm gonna bring up exhibits 2 through 9 on my screen here. If I bring one up that is not one that's in front of you, tell me. Okay, thank
Okay.
you. All right, let's start with, this is gonna be exhibit number. Is this exhibit number 2?
It is.
Okay. What are we looking at?
This is a view of the beach shoreline area looking north.
Okay. The waves over here, they were pretty substantial that day.
They were in growing.
And through your experience with working with the sheriff's office, do you have any familiarity with the shores of Waramont Park?
I do.
Do the tides change?
They do, dependent on the weather.
All right. And this weather on this day was what?
It was rainy. There was mixed sleet that day. The winds were really high. It was not a pleasant day.
And then off to the left side here is the leg.
That's correct.
This exhibit marker here, someone from your department put that there, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm going to move to exhibit 3. What are we looking at here?
This is taken from the same position as exhibit number 2. I just rotated, and now we're looking southbound.
For purposes of sort of giving a visual as to how far you had to walk?
That's correct.
All right, and so I'm gonna zoom here. There's 2 people, these would be investigators or people that were there on scene when you were doing your investigation, correct?
That's correct.
What are we looking at over here that I'm circling with my mouse, where this wave is crashing into?
So that's where the bottom of the hill, where the pump house is. There's that kind of paved area. Well, at that time it was not paved. And they have a break wall, and then there's the large boulders that go down into the lake. Just to the right of that is that rather steep embankment that I had to crawl down to get to the shoreline.
All right, so would that be where my mouse is right now?
Yes, it's a little hidden from view, yes.
This sort of right angle here that I'm highlighting with my mouse, is that the pump house?
It is,
And that's kind of over the bluff there, over the cliff.
Correct.
Okay. So when you, and the service road would be also right by that pump house, correct?
Yes.
All right. Gonna go to exhibit 4. What is this?
This would be in, again, the same location. I'm just now looking west and up the bluff, just to demonstrate how steep that is as well.
And at the bottom, it's angled, but at the top here, it kind of actually gets vertical. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
One would have an extremely difficult, if not impossible, time trying to get down here from the top of that cliff, right?
Definitely.
Okay. Next exhibit. What are we looking at?
It is another picture of the leg.
Next exhibit. What number is this?
Number 6,
What are we looking at?
that is the top thigh portion of the leg.
And this is what you were describing before. What did you note about how it was cut?
You can see, if you mind, if I can get down to point.
You may.
Thank you. It's this large zigzag motion that led me to believe that it was an instrument that did the severing and not being ripped.
You said an instrument,
Correct.
and then you had also mentioned that part of what you were able to observe of the leg made you believe that an instrument stopped being used. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well,
on the
describe
bone
that again.
portion, yes.
Okay.
It's not visible in this photo. The flesh is covering that portion up again, but it does look smooth, like when you would cut a bone with a knife or saw.
Next exhibit. What number is this?
Number 7, and that shows her pink toenail polish.
All right, zoom in on that. This is exhibit number 8. What is this?
This is again, the top of the thigh portion, where you can again see the rather Z-like jagged serration marks.
And lastly, exhibit 9.
Again, just showing the location of the leg. At this point, it had been moved a few times. Still laying in the same position, like still facing the same direction, just had to move it closer to the embankment there.
Do you recall about how far up the leg was described originally to have been when Evan and Osiris found it?
Probably be about 10 to 15 feet. It'd be right about where that bush is in the photo, that dark spot.
Where I'm circling?
Correct.
Okay. Did you assist with other investigators in searching the other parts of that coastline?
Correct.
And I'm specifically talking about down by the water, not up on the cliff.
Just in my travels back and forth between my squad and to the leg, I would search as I would go by to look for anything else. I did not find anything else.
Were other members of your department out there searching as well?
Yes.
And where nothing else was found?
No.
About how far up and down the coastline were people searching?
I do not know how far they went to the north, but I do know that they did also go to the north of the leg location, but we did search rather extensively from the leg to the south.
Okay. Did you make a request of the Coast Guard?
I did. I asked to see if they could come with their searchlights to scan the bluff area. We were starting to lose light at that point. They denied our request due to the weather.
Were the Was the area of the bluff searched nevertheless?
It was.
And how about up above the bluff in the wood line? Were investigators also heavily searching that area?
We did. It was due to have a snowstorm that night, and I was worried about losing any potential evidence to a snow cover. That's when Detective Colehop and Detective Bacon also responded to the scene, and along with the deputies on the scene and Officer DeSmet, we all started to comb that upper area. It's a lot of very narrow paths, I guess. They're just worn down between the tree line and that parkway area that you see. We went through there extensively trying to find anything else and did not find any other evidence.
Okay, I want to actually bring back up, I want to say this is going to be exhibit number 3 on the screen. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. Now, obviously, you came down here and were able to walk to where you were standing. You walked in a northern direction to get to where you're standing when you took this picture. Is there a way to walk? Is there a path essentially that would get you down over to the other side of the pump house, or is it kind of rocky and treacherous along there?
It is. It's similar to that on top of the bluff area. The path south of the pump house is very narrow and it's just dirt. I did not go any farther south just because it was not, I didn't feel it was safe.
No other body parts were located in the area of Waramont Park, is that correct?
That's correct.
The medical examiner's office came and took possession of the leg?
They did.
Was it assigned case number 24-02296?
It was.
And their role was to conduct an autopsy of the leg at that time, right?
That's correct.
In addition to looking for other body parts, did you look for any other items that you thought might have some value?
I did.
And did you take note of anything?
I did not.
Okay. Any clothing found?
There was a t-shirt and a bra, and that would have been very close to that initial tree line where you'd have to walk down. The bra was under driftwood and kind of covered with sand. The same with the t-shirt. It was up and off a little ways. They appeared to have been there for a while.
They were soaked?
They were.
Okay. And you say appeared to have been there for a while, and they were covered by like driftwood, you said?
Debris, sand, and pieces of charred wood.
Did it appear they were naturally covered by that stuff, or like someone tried to bury them?
Naturally.
Okay, so your takeaway essentially was that you believe those had been there for a while.
Correct.
Is this a location where you've seen other stuff like that since you've been back there after this date?
Nothing really clothing-wise. It appears that there might be a place that kids like to go to have fires right next to the parking lot area. That's where the charred wood is. Sometimes you'll find beer cans and things like that, but that's the only things that I've really found since I've been there.
And you're specifically talking about this area sort of right by where that pump house service road ends, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that's the location where this bra and shirt was found?
Correct.
The following day, April 3rd, 2024, were you contacted by the Milwaukee Police Department?
I was.
What was the nature of that contact?
I was asked to call an officer, Nora Burlow, that she had taken a welfare check the prior night for a Shaday Robinson who had been reported missing by a coworker.
Was there another report to Milwaukee Police regarding Miss Robinson?
There was. Officer Burlow told me that she noticed this welfare check because it was an area that they don't often get called to, being Shaday Robinson's apartment on North Commerce. When she opened the call up, she noticed that there was an associated call for a burnt-out car earlier that morning, and that really piqued her interest, and that's when she went to the apartment.
In response to learning that information from the Milwaukee Police Department, did you look into Shaday Robinson's demographics?
I did.
And did Shaday's description, through what you were able to find, seem to match the description of the leg that you had recovered at Waramont Park?
It did, according to the DOT demographics. She appeared to be the same height and weight and skin coloring of the leg.
Just a few other questions about this topic, Detective Donner. In the days, weeks, time period after April 2nd, when you first went to Waramont Park, were there other searches of the park involving canine units?
There were.
Do you know how many?
I don't know the specific number for Waramont Park, but I believe we had a total of 8 canine searches in various different areas. We had ground penetrating radar, as well as a specialized unit that does water searches as well.
Who is that?
That's Bruce's Legacy.
It's
They,
the
a
organization?
volunteer group.
Okay, and they came out to the location that we see here in Exhibit 1 and searched the coastline near where the leg was found?
They did on a couple of occasions, yes.
Do you know exactly how many, or do you just know it was more than one?
I believe it was 2.
Nothing found?
No, nothing was found.
Was a drone unit ever flown around this area to try to find more body parts?
It was for a better view of the bluffs, yes.
What did that yield?
Nothing.
And were dive teams used to go into Lake Michigan near this location to attempt to locate more body parts?
They were.
And was anything ever found there?
No, there wasn't.
The area depicted in Exhibit 1, that shoreline, how many times have you been there?
Probably a couple dozen since April 1st of last year.
Do you ever see anybody else down in that area of the shoreline where the leg was found?
Objection relevance.
I'll allow it, you can answer it.
Not on the shoreline portion. On the upper portion, I would see people walking their dogs, but not actually down by the lake.
I have no other questions at this time. This is a witness I would recall at a later time for a different topic.
Understood. Cross-examination?
Thank you, Detective. Good morning.
Good morning.
You said that in the times you've been there, you've noticed a spot where kids hang out, and you said something about noticing beer cans. Did I hear that correctly?
That's correct.
And that's near the parking area by the pump house is where you're describing that?
Correct.
You say kids hang out. Did you ever have contact with kids that were hanging out there, or you're just using that as a generalization based on what you see?
I spent 15 years on our parks unit in various forms, from mounted patrol to working in a squad. And when we would get called down to that area for smoke, that's where they would always be, and they generally were underage.
Okay, so you're talking people under 21 is what you mean?
Correct.
By underage. And this time when you went there, so it was April 1st?
Or April 2nd, I'm sorry.
April 2nd was the first, when you went there for the leg, right?
Correct.
Was that the first time you had been to Waramont Park, or in your 15 years prior, had you been there on other occasions?
I've been there on other occasions.
Okay, so when you're saying a couple dozen times before to the jury, are you talking since April 2nd, couple dozen times in the last year, right?
Yes.
But then many times before that?
Yes, I'm enough to be familiar with it, yes.
Got it. You said the conditions that day, obviously we can see the photos, windy, stormy, waves, all accurate description, right?
Correct.
Eventually, at some point, 2 gloves were found, were they not?
Yes, I did not do that, but yes,
Okay, you weren't involved in that.
I was not.
You weren't called to the scene to recover those?
I was not.
So you played no role in any glove recovery?
No,
You just know about it as the lead detective?
correct.
Now, the day, April 2nd, when you were there, you said you called in a canine search. Did you do that?
No, not on that day. It was, I do believe, the next day.
April 3rd.
Yes,
In a canine search, just so the jury understands, is a cadaver dog, you could call it, right?
that's correct.
In other words, you can give the dog a scent and it knows to look for human scent, right?
That's correct.
Blood and things like that trigger this dog,
Correct.
as opposed to looking for animals.
That's correct.
And the canine dog was used the next day and found nothing.
No, not that, to my knowledge, they did not find anything.
Were you involved in the canine handling?
I was not.
The ground penetrating radar that was used, did you use the ground penetrating radar?
No, I was not present for any of the searches. Generally, the way it works, I then become the orchestrator of the investigation, and I rarely go back out.
Got it. So so questions about what Bruce's legacy did or ground penetrating radar, you're not there for that.
I was there for one of Bruce's legacies.
Those are the underwater divers that look for things.
Not actual divers, they have sonar equipment that they put underwater that have cameras.
Now, let's focus on April 2nd when you were there that day. We saw, when the state was showing you pictures of the beach line area, could you pull up the pictures again, Ian? Yeah. Okay, so this is Exhibit 3, Detective Donner. Does that look familiar?
Yes,
Do you have the actual printed photos in front of you?
I do.
Could I just have those?
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
So Exhibit 3, on Exhibit 3, we can see all the way down the beach line towards the pump house. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
And if I heard you correctly, if I heard you correctly before, I thought because of the conditions, you were deprived of bringing in Coast Guard personnel, right?
That's correct.
So you can make a request, but it's not honored because it's too dangerous.
Correct.
So the search that was conducted on April 2nd is essentially of that shoreline down to that pump house. Is that fair to say?
Correct, and on the top of the bluff.
And the top of the bluff. South of the pump house, not that day.
Not that day, no.
And that's primarily due to the conditions, I assume.
Correct.
As the lead detective, you are aware of the fact that these bloody gloves were found south of the pump house on a later date.
Correct.
Anything else? Those are all my questions for this topic. Thank you.
State?
Nothing further.
Thank you, Detective. State your next witness.
Frank Miller.